By now, you've probably seen this list on The Athletic. It's Dom Lucian who went out there and ranked the most improved teams in the National Hockey League based off of the off-seasons that they had. Now, the article has been out for a few days, and in fact, the title of the piece, NHL Offseason Improvement Rankings, from number 1 Detroit to Florida at number 32. You gotta know where we're heading with this. The Red Wings are the most improved team from 2022 to 2023 based off of the analytical model that Dom Lucian goes out there and provides. Now, I'm not going to go screenshot anything from the article. Instead, we're going over onto the Detroit subreddit because, hey, they posted this entire thing. The Red Wings ranked number 1 most improved team by The Athletic. And we also have some Dom stuff from Twitter because he posted a lot of the charts and everything publicly, which makes me a lot more comfortable posting this online. But pretty much, this is the tweet that I'm referring to here. Which NHL teams improved the most this offseason? Dom Lucian's model weighs in. The Red Wings are back on the rise as they have added about 6-ish wins on the season based off of the additions they had made. Now, 6 wins does not seem like a heck of a lot, but it is the most amount of wins according to the model that Dom has. And it's kind of funny because I have to articulate this in a very specific way, but pretty much the way that these Red Wings add to the Red Wings roster makes it so that the last year's team, if they played again, probably would have won 6-ish more games, which is the most amount of games won based off of any of the additions that these other teams have made. In fact, the average isn't even in the 1 range like it normally is for things like this. You take a look at the teams in the bottom half of the graphic, hey, the New York Islanders have lost 0.5 more games with the additions or subtractions that they had, and pretty much what they didn't do this offseason. You go over to Florida, of course, they traded away Weegar, they traded away Huberdeau, they got Tkachuk, who is pretty good, but still the magnitude of losing out on the players that they did, they're going to be losing 6 more games if they continue the way that they have been going. Let's go over onto the actual Reddit comment that I wanted to summarize over here that goes over the contents of the piece. Salary added, $24.2 million, so the Red Wings have added a lot of salary. Steve Yzerman going out there and spending the bag that he has so very eloquently accrued over the past few years. Coming into the team is Ville Husso, very good goaltender. He's going to be helping out the team, splitting the load with Alex Nedeljkovic. David Perron, a very good top 6 forward that, even though he is old, is still very skilled at producing points. Andrew Kopp was a point-per-game guy with the New York Rangers in the postseason, and in the limited time that he had after getting sent over there from the Winnipeg Jets, he was always going to be a very interesting conversation as to whether or not he would stay or go with the team that had him in that last season's worth of play. There was an entire conversation happening about Winnipeg as to whether or not they'd be able to keep him around, but eventually they traded him away. He was really good with New York, and now he is here in Detroit. Dominik Kubalik is, in my opinion, an underrated type of scorer that had 30 goals one season, but hopefully he's going to be able to consistently produce at least 15 to 20 over the next few seasons. He will be a Red Wing. Mark Pysyk is a good shutdown guy. If you like Mark Stahl, you're probably going to like Pysyk. Zarnik is a guy that can provide some depth. Olli Mata, also some pretty good depth. Same with Luff, and Ben Chiarot is the big one because, man, that's a physical defenseman going out there, signed to a pretty beefy cap hit that is likely going to be able to provide some stability on the back end for years to come. Out of the Red Wing system are Olli Juolevi, who is really not all too great anyway. I mean, yeah, my heart is with Olli Juolevi and all the crap he had to deal with here in Vancouver, but at the end of the day, he is leaving. He is going over to Anaheim. Thomas Greiss is out of the organization as well, replaced by Husso, so it's not that big of a loss. And then you have Mark Stahl, who is honestly going to be kind of replaced by Mark Pysyk, so it's kind of okay as well. I mean, it's 1 out of 32, right? So I don't feel too bad going out there and reading this Reddit comment that happened to copy and paste the entire Athletic script, but commenter unlikely username goes out there and says this. Obviously, just taking the article's words and putting it in here, the Detroit Red Wings balled out this summer, spending big money in hopes of clawing out of the league's basement and forging a path towards contention. No team saw a bigger increase in spending, and it looks like it should be worth it because no team added more value either. With a 1.9 win gap between first and second, it wasn't even close. The Red Wings didn't lose much with 3 players who offered minimal value, if that. In their place, there are 9 new notable faces who will inject some life into the lineup. Detroit's issue has long been its depth, and that should be alleviated heavily after a busy offseason. Now, I mean, that's kind of the thing here, right? Perron, Kopp, Kubalik, Pysyk. Okay, not Pysyk, he's a defenseman. But you have yourselves a pretty much solid line added there in Perron, Kopp, and Kubalik, plus the depth that all the other guys and the defensemen also provide too. Not to mention the goaltending and the top 4 defenseman option in Ben Chiarot as well. Up front, David Perron and Andrew Kopp are legitimate top 6 talents that should immediately provide some depth scoring beyond the top line. Detroit has long depended on Larkin and his linemates to do it all. Now it doesn't have to. Perron and Kopp aren't stars, but they move the needle and provide strong support. Add Dominic Kubalik to the mix, and the top 9 looks the scariest it has been in a long time. On defense, the changes aren't as exciting, but there is still hope. Mark Pysyk is an analytics darling that should do just fine on the team's third pair, while Olimata bounced back last season. He has top 4 potential if he can keep that up. Considering the money they're giving him, the Red Wings are likely hoping that Ben Chiarot is the big top 4 piece needed to take this team to a higher level. The model is incredibly skeptical of that, but it's nice knowing the team added 6 wins anyway, despite Chiarot's projected value dragging it down. If he can be as good as some suggest he is, that's another win or so in Detroit's ledger. Now, this has been another trend with the Athletic and their overall models because Ben Chiarot was actually named as one of the worst contracts given out to any of the players in this year's crop of guys. And, I mean, I could understand the perspective that says analytically Ben Chiarot is not really a player that adds any expected goals. He doesn't really do too much. Therefore, he's a negative asset considering how much he's paid. But when it comes to the way Ben Chiarot plays, it's not really like his style is one that is suited for the analytics in general. But as I said, as the Canadiens went to the finals and as the Florida Panthers acquired this guy, if you need a player to just go out there and make your opponent's lives miserable, really make sure that your opponent gets across crease in the back if he's like in front of your goalie or something. Ben Chiarot is a guy that's going to be able to do that. He just does the dirty work, and I could say, understandably, that $5-ish million might be a little bit too much to give to a guy that does only that, but at the same time, he's been stable and he can play 25 minutes a night if you really need him to in big pressured role situations, so at the end of the day, there is value to the Ben Chiarot contract in my opinion. It's just, analytically, I could understand why that wouldn't really be the case. And then for goaltending, this was the biggest ad that they had. Detroit took a calculated risk offseason with Alex Nedeljkovic, and they're doing something similar with Husso. It's another young goalie who got hot and showed starter potential. The duo has tremendous upside, but the small sample risk remains real for both. As long as one of them hits the good bet, though, giving Detroit some stability in net for the first time since the last time Jimmy Howard was good. Incidentally, that was the last time the team was any good at all as well. It's been a long time coming, but the Red Wings are back on the rise. Now, the Red Wings in last season's worth of NHL play did not really have all too great of a record. They went 32, 40, and 10, which, I mean, look, the 10 overtime wins is nice. That's 10 extra points that you were able to get. But if you're taking a look at the model and saying, hey, they added 6 more wins on the year, they would have had, let's say, 86 points on the regular season. Now, that still wouldn't have been enough to make it into the playoffs because all the other teams that made it all got 100 points each, but in an Eastern Conference that is likely going to see a lot more diversification between its point producers and the amount of points that all these teams get in general, you're not going to see the same 8 teams projected to make the playoffs from the beginning of the year until the end of the year, most likely. It's going to be interesting to see where Detroit falls, especially with all the improvements they have, and it's kind of funny because even though the Red Wings added all these guys, you know who else they added technically? Jakub Vrana. This is a guy that's legitimately going to get added onto the team because, hey, look at how many games he played last season. He only played 26. Sure, he had 13 goals in those 26 games, but man, this is another very legitimate ad that the Red Wings are going to be able to benefit from tenfold if they're able to say, okay, here's Bertuzzi, here's Larkin, here's Raymond, that's the line. You have yourselves a Perron line with Andrew Kopp and maybe Vrana there too. You have Kubalik on the third line. This is a pretty great opportunity for a team to build itself up, not just with the assets it acquired, but with the assets that were already there. Plus the fact that Seider, Raymond, these guys are young, these guys are likely going to be a little bit better. Maybe Edvinsson makes the team, who really knows, and at the end of the day, I mean, there's just a pretty good package for success here when it comes to building the next season's worth of play. And Steve Yzerman, man, gotta applaud the guy right here because he's been doing just that. Talk to me in the comments all your thoughts about the Detroit Red Wings and the acquisitions they have made. Talk to me as well, how good do you think Jakub Vrana is going to be? How good do you think his play is going to be? As well as Seider, Raymond, the other young guys on the team as well. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Juraj for Olsen 99. Article will be linked in the description, by the way, if you want to go ahead and read and see all 32 teams. And bye.